The desperate struggle the desert was endless, stretching as far as Ethan could see. The sun was burning hot. His skin felt like it was on fire, and every breath hurt. Ethan's boots were heavy with sand, and his body was weak from thirst. He looked down at his leg. Blood was running fast from a deep cut. He tried to walk, but he fell to his knees, pain shooting through him. Ethan was lost. His ship had crashed 2 days ago, and his radio was broken. He had tried to walk toward the mountains, but the desert was too big, and now he was sure he would die here, alone, far from home. He lay on his back and stared at the burning sky. The light made him dizzy. He wanted to sleep, to let the pain go away, but then he remembered his family, and his eyes filled with tears. He couldn't die here. He had to try. Suddenly he heard a soft sound, a small crunch of sand. He lifted his head and saw something strange. A girl, not human, standing nearby. Her skin was light blue, and her eyes were wide and bright. She looked young and scared, but also curious. She wore simple clothes made from cactus fibers, and her long silver hair fell to her waist. In her hand she held a small water flask. Ethan tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. "Help, please." The alien girl's name was Lyra. She lived in a small camp hidden among rocks, far from the usual roads. She had always been told to stay away from humans. Humans were dangerous, her elders said. But now, seeing Ethan hurt, something inside her made her step closer. She saw the blood on his leg and understood he would die if she did nothing. Lyra knelt beside him. Ethan's eyes were full of pain and fear, but he did not try to hurt her. She opened her flask and gave him a little water. He drank quickly, but she took it away before he could finish. "Slow," she said softly. "Too much, you will get sick." Ethan nodded weakly. He watched as Lyra checked his wound. It was deep and ugly. Blood was everywhere. She knew if she left him, he would die soon. But she had nothing, no bandages, no tools. She looked around and saw a cactus nearby. An idea came to her. Lyra broke a sharp thorn from the cactus. She looked at her long hair, took a deep breath, and pulled out a lock. It hurt, but she did not stop. She tied one end of the hair to the thorn. Her hands were shaking, but she remembered her grandmother's words. "If you want to help, use what you have. Even a hair can save a life." Ethan watched, confused and amazed as Lyra worked. She pressed the cactus thorn against his wound, sewing the skin together with her hair. Every touch hurt, but he stayed still, biting his lip. Lyra's hands were fast and gentle. In a few minutes, the bleeding slowed. She tore a piece from her own shirt and wrapped it around his leg. "You are safe now," she whispered. Ethan nodded, his eyes full of tears, half from pain, half from hope. Lyra sat next to him as he rested. She wanted to run away, to leave before someone saw her with a human. But Ethan looked so lost and alone. She stayed. The desert wind picked up. Sand blew around them. Far away, Lyra heard a sound that made her freeze, a low, growling roar. She knew that sound. A sand beast was nearby. These monsters hunted anything weak in the desert, and the smell of blood would bring it closer. Ethan saw the fear in Lyra's eyes. "What is it?" He whispered. "Sand beast," she said, voice shaking. "It comes for the blood." Ethan tried to sit up, but his leg was weak. He looked around, searching for something, anything to defend them. Lyra held the cactus thorn tightly. The growl grew louder. Shadows moved behind the rocks. Lyra pulled Ethan closer to her, hiding behind a big boulder. They both held their breath. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, a huge dark shape appeared at the edge of their vision. The sand beast's eyes glowed yellow in the dark. Its nose sniffed the air, searching for blood. Ethan felt fear like never before. But Lyra was beside him, her face set and strong. She was ready to protect him, even if it meant facing the beast. As the beast drew nearer, Ethan knew this was not the end of his struggle. It was only the beginning. The hunter and the sand, Lyra and Ethan, hid behind the big boulder, their hearts pounding in their chests. The sand beast's low growl was growing louder. The air was thick with fear. Lyra kept her body in front of Ethan, gripping the cactus thorn so hard her knuckles turned white. The sand beast was huge, covered in rough gray scales that blended into the desert. It moved slow but steady, its nose twitching, searching for the scent of fresh blood. Lyra knew it could smell Ethan's wound. Ethan tried to move his leg, but pain shot up his body. He gasped quietly, not wanting to make a sound. He wished he had a weapon. Even a small rock would be better than nothing. But the only thing near him was the sand and the broken piece of Lyra's shirt. The beast crept closer, sniffing the sand where Ethan had lain before. Its jaws parted, showing rows of sharp yellow teeth. Lyra glanced at Ethan. "We must be still," she whispered. "If it does not see us, maybe it will go." Ethan nodded, swallowing his fear. The two waited, not moving an inch, barely breathing. Time felt like it slowed down. The only sound was the beast's deep breathing and the wind blowing sand across. The rocks dot, but suddenly the wind shifted. The beast lifted its head, its eyes locking onto the boulder. It took a step closer, then another. Lyra's heart raced. She had seen these monsters before. Once they had taken a goat from her family's camp. No one had dared to chase after it. Ethan's hand closed around a small rock, cold and rough in his palm. It wasn't much, but it made him feel a little braver. Lyra looked at him, shaking her head. "No fight. Only run if it comes." The sand beast was right in front of their hiding place now. Its long tongue flicked out, tasting the air. It let out a deep, rumbling snarl. Then, in one swift movement, the beast lunged at the boulder, smashing its giant claw against the rock. The force made the ground tremble. Sand flew into the air. Lyra screamed and pushed Ethan to the side. The beast's claw missed him by inches, leaving deep scratch marks in the stone. Ethan rolled over, pain flaring in his leg. Lyra stood between him and the beast, holding up the cactus thorn like a knife. She shouted loudly, trying to scare it away. But the beast was not afraid. It lunged again, jaws open wide. Lyra jumped back, then threw the cactus thorn as hard as she could. It hit the beast's nose and stuck there. The beast howled in pain, shaking its head back and forth. Blood dripped from its nose where the thorn had pierced. For a second, the beast stumbled, distracted. Ethan saw his chance. He grabbed the biggest rock he could find and threw it at the beast's eye. The rock hit with a loud crack. The beast roared, clawing at its face. Lyra took Ethan's arm and pulled him to his feet. "Now, run!" she cried. Ethan limped as fast as he could, Lyra helping him along. They ran around the boulder, deeper into the desert, sand stinging their eyes. Behind them, the beast was still howling and pawing at its wounded face. They ran until their legs ached and their lungs burned. Finally, Lyra dragged Ethan behind another rocky outcrop. They both collapsed, gasping for breath. Ethan looked at Lyra, sweat and fear in his eyes. "You saved me, again." Lyra shook her head, her silver hair wild and tangled. "No, we save each other. Your rock, my thorn." Both needed. For a while, they sat in silence, listening for the beast. But the only sound was the wind. The beast had gone, at least for now. Ethan tried to smile. "You're very brave." Lyra looked away. "I was scared. But you are not like other humans. You do not want to fight alone." Ethan nodded. "Sometimes we need someone with us, even if it's someone new." The sun was lower now, the air a little cooler. Lyra stood and looked at Ethan's wound. The bleeding had stopped, but the cut was still red and swollen. She knew they could not stay here. The beast would come back, or another danger might find them. "We need to move," Lyra said. "I know a cave." "Safe from sun, safe from beasts," Ethan nodded. He trusted her now more than he trusted himself in this strange world, with Lyra's help. He struggled to his feet. Every step hurt, but he did not complain. Lyra put her arm around his waist, taking most of his weight. Together, they moved slowly through the sand, following the shadows of the rocks far behind them. The sand beast sniffed the air, tasting the scent of blood and sweat. But Ethan and Lyra were already gone, moving toward the unknown, each step making their bond a little stronger. As the sky turned orange and purple, Lyra and Ethan disappeared into the desert, chased by shadows but holding on to hope. The fragile alliance, the desert's colors changed as the sun slid lower in the sky. Gold and red shadows stretched across the sand, hiding dangers that waited for night. Lyra led Ethan slowly, her arm around his waist, every step careful. Ethan's leg hurt with every movement, but he pushed on, trusting Lyra. Ahead, Lyra saw the shape of the cave she remembered from her childhood. It was hidden behind sharp rocks and tall cactus plants, the entrance dark and small. The cave had saved her before during storms. Maybe it would save them now. They finally reached the entrance. Lyra looked around. No beast tracks, only her own footprints and Ethan's heavy steps. She helped Ethan inside, where cool air made the pain in his leg a little less. The cave was empty except for a few small rocks and dry leaves. Ethan sank to the ground, exhausted. Lyra knelt beside him and checked his wound. The stitches made from her hair were still holding, but the skin was swollen and red. She gently cleaned the cut with a bit of water, then tore another strip from her shirt to make a new bandage. Ethan watched her work. He was surprised at how brave and gentle she was. He wanted to thank her, but words felt small compared to what she had done. "You saved my life again," he said softly. Lyra shook her head. "Not alone. We save each other." "Your rock made beast run away," Ethan smiled. For the first time since crashing on this planet, he did not feel alone. Outside, the sun disappeared. The sky turned purple, then black. Stars came out, brighter than any Ethan had ever seen. Inside the cave, the world felt safe for a moment. Lyra sat across from Ethan, knees pulled to her chest. She stared at the small light of her survival lamp. "My people always say, never trust a human. But I see now, stories are not always true." Ethan nodded. "My people. We are told not to trust anyone on a strange world. But sometimes you have no choice." There was a long silence. Far away, a howl echoed across the desert. Lyra shivered. "My father was lost to the sand." "Beasts," she said. "He tried to save a baby goat. The beast took him. I always wondered if he was scared." Ethan's voice was gentle. "I think he was brave. You are brave too. You did not run." Lyra met his eyes, surprised. No one had ever called her brave before. Ethan decided to share his story. He told her about his crash, the fire, the fear of dying far from home. He talked about his family, about Earth, about how he missed simple things, rain, music, fresh bread. Lyra listened closely, picturing a blue world where humans laughed and lived together. Then Lyra shared stories of her people, their love of the stars, how they traveled by night, the old songs her mother sang. She explained how her people survived by helping each other, using what the land gave them. Ethan realized they were not so different after all. Suddenly, a sound came from deeper in the cave. It was soft, like claws on stone. Lyra froze, eyes wide. "Something is here," she whispered. Ethan looked around, searching for a weapon. He grabbed a broken stick from the ground. Lyra picked up a sharp stone. The sound grew louder. Then, two small eyes appeared in the darkness. A desert lizard crawled into the light, tongue flicking. Lyra let out a shaky breath and laughed quietly. "Just a lizard," she said. Ethan laughed too, the fear lifting from his shoulders. For a moment, it felt like everything would be okay, but Lyra was still worried. "The beast might come back," she warned. "If it smells blood, it will not stop," Ethan nodded. "We need a plan." Together, they talked quietly, making a simple defense. Lyra piled rocks at the cave entrance to block anything large. Ethan showed her how to tie a tripwire from cactus fibers, stretching it across the floor so they would wake up if something tried to come inside. Lyra was amazed at Ethan's ideas. "You humans always find a way," she said, admiration in her voice. Ethan smiled. "So do you." The night grew cold. Lyra gave Ethan her cloak to keep warm, and they sat close together by the little lamp. Outside, the desert was quiet, but danger was always close. Inside the cave, two strangers became something more, a team, an alliance made not from trust at first, but from need. Then from something better. Hope. As sleep came, Ethan listened to Lyra's breathing, steady and calm. He felt safe, even with pain in his leg and fear in his heart. He knew tomorrow would bring new dangers. But for tonight, he was not alone. And in the darkness, the first seeds of friendship grew, quiet and strong like a cactus surviving in the hardest sand. Trust, forged in fear. The desert night was deep and silent, broken only by the gentle breathing of Ethan and Lyra in the cave. But the peace was fragile. Even while sleeping, both were half awake, ready to jump up if danger returned. The tripwire stretched across the cave entrance was their only warning, and outside, the sand beast could be anywhere. Ethan woke first. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he saw Lyra sleeping beside him, her silver hair messy, her face peaceful. He looked at his leg and saw the swelling had gone down a little. He tried to stand, testing his strength. The pain was sharp, but not as bad as yesterday. Lyra woke to the sound of Ethan moving. Her eyes snapped open, full of fear, but then she saw Ethan smile. She smiled back, though her heart still pounded. "Did you sleep?" Ethan asked. "A little," Lyra replied. "You?" "Maybe an hour," he said with a small laugh. "But at least we're alive." Lyra's stomach growled, and she looked embarrassed. Ethan's did the same. They had almost no food. Lyra took a dried root from her small bag and broke it in half, sharing it with Ethan. It tasted bitter, but it was better than nothing. They sat near the cave entrance, watching the pink sun rise over the sand. The desert looked calm, almost beautiful. But Lyra knew better. Danger in the desert often came without warning. Suddenly, the tripwire moved. A stone rolled inside the cave. Both Ethan and Lyra jumped up. Lyra grabbed her sharp stone. Ethan took the stick, but it was only a small animal, a desert mouse, searching for crumbs. Ethan let out a breath of relief. "I almost hit it," he joked. Lyra laughed, a real laugh this time. Still, the moment reminded them how close fear always was. Lyra peered outside, searching for beast tracks. She saw a few deep prints far away, but nothing nearby. "We are safe for now," she said, but her voice was quiet. Ethan looked at her. "Why did you help me?" "You didn't know me." Lyra hesitated, her eyes serious. "My grandmother told me humans were strong, but she also said the greatest strength is kindness. She helped a human once, long ago. He saved her life later. I remembered her words when I saw you bleeding. Maybe I hoped you would do the same if I needed help." Ethan nodded. "On Earth, we say, what goes around comes around. Maybe we're not so different." Lyra smiled softly, feeling their trust grow. She stood and looked deeper into the cave. There may be water here. Old caves often hide springs. They searched the dark corners, feeling the cold walls with their hands. After a while, Lyra's fingers touched damp rock. She followed it and found a tiny spring trickling from the stone. She laughed with joy, calling Ethan to see. They drank, feeling hope return. As they rested, Ethan showed Lyra how to tie stronger knots with cactus fibers, and Lyra taught him how to find hidden water by searching for green plants in the desert. But suddenly, a loud growl echoed outside, closer than before. Lyra's face turned pale. "It's the sand beast," she whispered. "It found us again." Ethan's heart raced. He limped to the cave entrance and peered out. In the morning light, he saw the giant shadow moving between rocks. The sand beast was circling, searching for the scent of blood. "We can't fight it," Ethan said. "We have to scare it," Lyra nodded. She picked up the torch from Ethan's survival bag. There was only a little fuel left, but maybe it was enough. They moved to the cave mouth, crouching behind rocks. Ethan held the torch. Lyra held a handful of pebbles. As the beast came closer, sniffing and growling, Lyra threw pebbles at its face. It roared and turned toward the sound. Ethan flicked the lighter, and the torch burst into flame. He stepped out, shouting and waving the fire. The beast stopped, surprised by the light. Lyra shouted too, both of them making as much noise as possible. The beast growled, eyes glowing, but the fire made it nervous. It stepped back, hissing. Ethan pushed forward, waving the torch, yelling louder. Lyra joined him, throwing more stones. Finally, with a furious roar, the beast turned and ran, sand flying under its heavy claws. They both collapsed inside the cave, hearts pounding, breathing hard but alive. Lyra looked at Ethan, tears in her eyes, not from fear, but relief. "We did it. We scared it away." Ethan smiled, sweat on his face. "Together. Always together." For the first time, Lyra felt safe, not because the beast was gone, but because she had someone who would stand with her, even when he was afraid. Outside, the desert was wild and dangerous, but inside the cave, a new trust had been forged, strong as steel, one born from fear, but grown in hope. The long march, when morning came, the cave was quiet. Ethan blinked at the soft golden light that spilled over the cave floor. Lyra was already awake, checking outside for signs of danger. She moved quietly, eyes sharp, ears alert for any growl or shadow. Ethan tried to stand. His leg was sore, but the swelling had gone down, thanks to Lyra's careful help. He was still weak, but his spirit felt stronger. He looked at Lyra and gave a small nod. Lyra smiled back. "It's safe for now, but we cannot stay here. The sand beast may come back, or worse. We need to find shelter, food, water, and maybe help." Ethan agreed. He thought of his crashed ship somewhere far across the dunes. Maybe someone was searching for him, maybe not. Either way, he could not survive here alone. Lyra made a sling from her scarf, tying it around Ethan's shoulders to support his bad leg. Then she handed him a walking stick, a strong, straight branch she had found. Together, they stepped into the bright desert, blinking against the sunlight. The world outside the cave was huge and empty. Wind sent fine sand swirling around their feet. Distant mountains looked close, but Lyra knew they were far away, maybe days of walking. But there was no other choice. Their journey began slowly. Each step was a struggle for Ethan, and Lyra stayed close, ready to help. When Ethan stumbled, she caught him. When he fell, she pulled him up, never letting go. For hours they walked in silence, saving their energy. Lyra searched for animal tracks, green plants, any sign of water. Ethan kept his eyes on the horizon, looking for shapes, maybe a building, a road, a rescue ship. But there was nothing but sand, stone, and sky. The sun grew hotter. Their water was almost gone. Ethan felt sweat rolling down his face, his head pounding. But Lyra stayed calm, leading him between tall rocks, where the shadows were cool. In the shadows, Lyra found a cactus, fat and green. She took Ethan's pocket knife and carefully sliced it open. Inside was cool water and soft flesh. She shared the cactus with Ethan. The taste was strange, but it gave him strength. As they rested, Lyra showed Ethan how to look for signs of life. See this? She pointed to a cluster of yellow flowers under a rock. Where flowers grow, there is water below. My people learned to dig here. Ethan dug into the sand with his hands. Soon, his fingers touched wet mud. Lyra laughed, and together they drank the cold, sweet water. Ethan was amazed. You know this land better than anyone, he said. Lyra shook her head. You are strong too. Most would have given up, but not you. The sun began to set, painting the sky with orange and red. The air grew cooler. Lyra and Ethan moved faster, hoping to cover more ground before dark. Suddenly, as they climbed over a rocky ridge, Lyra stopped. Below them, in a shallow valley, was something strange. Old ruins. Broken walls half buried in the sand. They looked ancient, but some parts shone with metal and light. Let's go, Ethan whispered, hope returning to his tired heart. As they approached, they saw doors carved with alien symbols and strange machines blinking in the shadows. Lyra, read the old signs, her fingers tracing each line. It's a shelter, she said, surprised. From the time before the sand beasts, my people once hid here. Ethan pressed a button by the door. Nothing happened. He tried again, but the door stayed shut. Lyra knelt beside him, pressing her hand to a glowing panel. She sang a few words in her own language. Slowly, the door opened, creaking, sending a cool wind out. Inside, the air was fresh. Ethan felt relief. The shelter had metal walls and a broken table. On the wall, a glowing screen showed strange maps of the desert. Lyra found a box with food. Tablets old, but still good. She handed one to Ethan, who chewed it, grimacing at the bland taste. But there was little time to rest. Suddenly, a red light flashed. A loud mechanical voice echoed through the room. Intruders detected. Security protocol activated. Panels slid open in the walls, and 3 small spider-like machines crawled out, their metal legs clicking. On the floor, their eyes glowed blue. Ethan grabbed his walking stick, ready to fight. Lyra remembered the stories her mother told, how these machines were protectors, but would attack strangers. Don't attack, Lyra shouted. She quickly spoke to the machines in her own language, hands raised to show peace, but the machines kept coming. Ethan swung his stick, knocking one aside. Lyra reached for a control panel, trying to remember the old codes. The spiders circled, legs clicking, ready to strike. Ethan pushed Lyra behind him. Just as the first spider leapt, Lyra shouted the final word in the old tongue. The machines froze, eyes blinking. For a moment, everything was still. Then the red lights turned green, and the machines backed away, returning to their hiding places. Ethan dropped his stick, breathing hard. Lyra hugged him, laughing with relief. We did it, Ethan said, smiling weakly. Yes, Lyra replied. Together. Outside, the desert night was coming. But inside the shelter, they were safe for now. Their march had brought them to a new challenge, but they faced it together, their alliance stronger than ever. Secrets of survival inside the ancient shelter. Ethan and Lyra felt safer than they had in days. The walls were thick and cool, keeping out the burning desert sun. The security drones had disappeared into their hidden holes, quiet once again. For a moment, they could finally breathe without fear. Ethan sat down, leaning against a wall. His whole body ached, but the food tablet and cold water from the cave made him stronger. He looked around, amazed by the strange alien machines and glowing screens. Lyra searched the small rooms of the shelter. In one corner, she found a container with dried plant leaves. She broke some into a pot and poured water from the hidden spring in the wall, making a weak, earthy tea. The smell was strange but calming. While they rested, Ethan asked, "How did you know the machines would listen to your words?" Lyra smiled shyly. My mother taught me old songs and codes. My people built shelters like this long ago to hide from sand beasts and storms. The machines remember the old words. They only forget if no one sings to them. Ethan listened closely, realizing how much he owed her and her people's wisdom. He thought about Earth and all the things humans built, then left behind, forgetting their own secrets. He wondered how many dangers could be solved by remembering after drinking tea. Lyra checked Ethan's wound. The stitches made from her own hair still held strong. She cleaned it, adding a new wrap from the shelter's first aid box. Ethan watched her careful hands and said, "You saved my life. Not just my body, my hope too." Lyra blushed and looked away, busy with the bandage. "You would do the same for me." "That is the way of strong people." Ethan smiled. "Maybe that's why humanity never dies. Not just muscles or brains, but hope." Suddenly, the shelter lights flickered, and a soft alarm sounded. On the wall, the map screen showed a red blinking dot moving closer. Lyra hurried to the screen, her heart racing. "It's a signal," she said. "Someone is coming. Not my people. I don't know who." Ethan stood, grabbing his walking stick. He peered at the blinking map. Could it be a rescue team? Lyra shook her head. "Too soon. Rescue ships are loud." "This is small, maybe scavengers." Fear crept back into the shelter. They heard a noise from outside, footsteps crunching on the sand, voices speaking in a rough alien language. Lyra whispered, "Scavengers. They steal from ruins." "Sometimes they take people too." Ethan's mind raced. They could not run, he was too weak. The shelter had hidden doors, but if the scavengers searched carefully, they would be found. Lyra led Ethan to a secret alcove behind a false wall. She whispered the old words, and the panel slid open. The space inside was small, barely enough for both of them. They squeezed in, holding their breath. Through the cracks, they saw 3 figures enter the shelter. The scavengers wore patchwork armor and carried strange weapons. They laughed and shouted, tearing through supplies and breaking machines too. "Look for valuables." Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. Lyra pressed her hand over his mouth to keep him quiet. One scavenger drew closer, sniffing the air. For a moment, Ethan thought they were caught. But then, from deep in the shelter, the security machines woke up. The green lights flashed, and the spider drones scurried out. The scavengers shouted in surprise as the drones chased them, zapping at their feet with tiny electric sparks. Ethan and Lyra watched as chaos filled the shelter. The scavengers tried to shoot the machines, but the drones were too fast. In moments, the scavengers turned and ran, slamming the shelter door behind them. When silence returned, Lyra whispered the old words, and the panel slid open. She and Ethan stepped out, shaking from relief. "That was close," Ethan said. Lyra nodded, eyes shining. "We were lucky. The machines protect anyone who knows their words. My mother was right. The old ways can still save us." Ethan walked to the map screen, now safe again. He saw the blinking rescue beacon near the shelter's edge. "If we can fix that beacon, someone might find us," he said. Lyra studied the beacon's controls. It was old and damaged, but her clever hands found the broken wire. She used a bit of Ethan's metal necklace and twisted it to make the connection. The beacon flashed, sending a bright signal into the desert sky. They waited in silence, hope rising again. Ethan squeezed Lyra's hand. "If we get out, I want my people to know about you, about everything you did for me." Lyra smiled, tired but proud. "If we get out, I want my people to know about you, how a human never gave up, even when the sand and the beasts tried to break him." Above, the night sky glowed with stars. Somewhere help might be coming. In the dark shelter, surrounded by old secrets and new trust, Ethan and Lyra waited together, strong as ever. Humanity never dies. Night in the desert was never quiet for long. As Ethan and Lyra waited in the shelter, the rescue beacon sent a shining light far into the black sky. It pulsed like a heartbeat, a signal of hope for anyone watching above. But hope and danger always traveled together. Ethan could barely keep his eyes open. He leaned against the cold metal wall, holding Lyra's hand tight. The past days had tested him more than any moment on Earth. He was tired, but he was not defeated. Lyra watched the beacon, her heart full of worry and courage. Suddenly, a distant roar echoed from the dunes. Lyra's body went tense. The sand. Beast, it's still looking for us. Ethan forced himself to stand, gripping his stick. We can't run now. If we hide, the beast will find us. We must use the shelter. We must outsmart it. Lyra nodded. Together, they moved to the control panel by the entrance. She remembered more words from the old language, singing softly as she pressed the buttons. The metal doors groaned, then slid shut, locking them inside. But the beast was clever too. Its massive body crashed against the shelter walls, making everything shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ethan helped Lyra barricade the doors with heavy boxes. The beast's claws scraped at the metal, its roars filling every corner of the shelter. Inside, Ethan thought hard. He remembered stories of his people, how sometimes the answer was not to fight, but to wait, to survive until help arrived. He looked at the machines, then at Lyra. We need a distraction, Ethan whispered. If the beast chases something, else maybe it will leave us alone. Lyra's eyes lit up. The spider drones, they follow commands. Maybe they can lure the beast away from us. With shaking hands, she spoke the old commands again. The spider drones woke up, their eyes glowing bright. She sent them through a side tunnel, out into the open sand. The beast, sensing movement, turned its head and pounced. With a thunderous crash, it tore after the machines, leaving the main shelter alone. Ethan and Lyra watched through a small window as the beast chased the spider drones into the darkness, away from the beacon. The shelter grew quiet again, except for their pounding hearts. For the first time, Ethan laughed, a deep and honest laugh. You did it, Lyra. You're the bravest person I've ever met. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining. We did it together. That's the only way to survive here. Suddenly, a new light appeared in the sky, this one brighter, moving fast. It grew larger until they saw it was a rescue ship, drawn by the beacon signal. Its lights swept the desert, searching for signs of life. Ethan and Lyra ran to the roof hatch. Together, they climbed up, waving their arms and shining the emergency lamp. The ship circled once, then landed with a hiss of dust and wind. Human rescuers in silver suits hurried out, checking their scanners. They rushed to Ethan, helping him down the ladder and asking questions. Lyra stepped back, shy and worried. Would these humans accept her, or would they be afraid? Ethan pointed to her. She saved me. I would not be alive without her. She is my friend. The rescue team looked at Lyra, then at Ethan's stitched leg and tired face. They nodded, smiling. Kindly, one rescuer handed Lyra a warm drink and a blanket. For the first time, she felt welcome with strangers. As the ship took off, Ethan and Lyra watched the desert fade away below them. The sand, the sun, the wild beasts, all left behind as they soared toward the stars. In the medbay, Ethan finally rested, his wound treated with advanced medicine. Lyra sat beside him, her eyes wide at the machines and the kindness of the crew. They listened as the captain spoke to Earth Command, survivors found, human and local ally. Both alive and safe. Ethan squeezed Lyra's hand. When I go home, I will tell everyone about you, how hope and kindness are stronger than any danger. Lyra nodded. And I will tell my people how humans never give up. Even when hurt, even when lost, you keep fighting. The captain came to see them. We need people like you both, brave, wise, ready to help others. The universe is big, but hope is bigger. Ethan smiled. Hope and a little help from friends. As the ship sped through the stars, Ethan thought about everything he had. Learned. Humanity would never die, not because of strong bodies or big weapons, but because of simple things. A girl's courage, a bit of hair, a cactus thorn, and the power of two strangers to save each other. When Earth welcomed them home, Lyra walked beside Ethan. Together, they showed the world that friendship and hope could survive anywhere, even in the wildest desert, even under the darkest sky dot, and somewhere in the desert, under the stars, the sand beast howled, but it could not break what Ethan and Lyra had built, a bond stronger than fear, and a hope that would never die.